There are 5 last names in this country that were changed on purpose, changed by families who were trying to hide the native blood running through them. I am going to name all 5 tonight, and I want to warn you before I begin. One of them might be yours. Not a name like yours, the name on your mail, the name you sign without thinking about it. I have lived 74 years, and I have sat with more families than I can count, while they found out that the name they carried was not the first name their people wore. That somewhere back down the line somebody folded the truth up small and put it away, and never took it back out. But before I name the first one, I need you to understand why a family would do such a thing. Because if you do not understand the why, the names will just be trivia to you. And they are not trivia, they are doors. Each one of these 5 names is a door somebody closed a long time ago, quietly, at night, out of fear and out of love, and closed so well that the children born behind it never knew there had been a door at all. That is what we are going to open tonight, slowly, the way you open anything old. If you stay with me to the 5th name, and I ask you to stay, because the 5th one is the heaviest, and it is the one I have watched bring grown men to tears. Mind, you may walk away knowing something about your own family that nobody living ever told you. And if something in you already stirred, just hearing me say that, do one small thing for me. When we are done, leave a word in the comments. Say, I was here, because someone will come along after you carrying the same question, and it will matter to them that somebody was here before them. Here is the why, and I will say it the way my grandmother would have said it, plain and quiet. There were long years in this land when carrying native blood out in the open could cost you. It could cost the man his work. It could cost the woman her children. It could cost the family the ground they lived on. I am not going to hang dates and numbers on that, because I am not a book. I am a man who sat at the feet of people who lived it. What they passed down to me was not politics. It was memory. A grandmother speaking low in a kitchen. A father saying, we don't talk about that. And the way the whole room went still when he said it. So families did what families have always done when the weather turns against them. They took the most precious thing they had, and they put it somewhere the weather could not reach it. They hid it inside a new name. And I want to give you the word for that right now, before we go one step further, because the world will try to hand you an uglier word for it. A name like that is not a lie. A name like that is a shield. Hold on to that word. Now, the first of the 5, the nature names, the ones that were carried across from the old tongues into English. Rivers, bird, hunter, stone. Names that used to be whole, a phrase, a picture, a thing seen and named in a language this country stopped letting people speak. When the clerks and the record keepers came through, those names got translated into English words, one line at a time. And here is what I need you to see. The families kept the translation because the English word could pass. A man named for the river in his own tongue was a question. A man named Rivers was just a neighbor. A woman wrote to me not long ago. She said her family name was Bird, and that her grandmother, who never explained anything to anyone, used to stand at the window whenever the geese went over, every year, both directions, and not say one word. She asked me if that meant something. I told her what I will tell you. The name remembered, even after the family stopped. The second one, the plain English names, Smith, Johnson, Miller, the safest names this country makes. Those came out of the school years. There were generations of our children who walked into those schools carrying one name and walked out wearing another. The way you put a coat on a child, whether it fits or not. Some of those children grew up and kept the coat on, not because they loved it, because they had learned the hard way what it cost to take it off. I have known men my age whose fathers never once said the old name out loud, the first one, the one from before the school. Not once in a whole life. Think about what kind of quiet that is. That is not forgetting. That is discipline. Forgetting takes generations and happens on its own. What those men did, they did on purpose, every single day, so their children could walk through the world unremarked. And I see what it left behind. I see the granddaughter who cannot explain why the family album starts in the middle. I see the son who found two different names for one great-grandfather and was told to leave it alone. I see people carrying a smooth English name, the way you carry a stone worn round. No edges left to tell you what it broke off of. My grandmother had a saying for all of this, and I want to give it to you the way it was given to me, because this is where the teaching turns. I was maybe 10 years old. We were walking the river path in the early fall. She walked it most mornings after her breath at the door, all her life. And I asked her, the way a boy asks, why some of the folks in town fished the same water we did, sat the same banks, and never once said what they were. She stopped walking. She looked at the water a long while, and she said, the land recognizes its own. She said the ground feels different under the feet of a person who belongs to it, and the ground does not read names. They can change what they are called, she told me. They cannot change what the land calls them. I have carried that for over 60 years now. The land recognizes its own. Paper can burn. Records can be lost or changed or written down wrong by a tired clerk who did not care. But belonging never lived in the paper. It lives in the blood, and the blood remembers what the family forgot. She used to hum while she wove in the evenings, my grandmother, an old song with no words to it that I ever learned. She never told me where it came from. I never thought to ask, until there was nobody left to answer. In my own family, we carried the proof of what I am teaching you tonight. Generations back, further back than the photographs go, there was a grandmother of my grandmother's line, a River Peoples woman, known among her own for her weaving. Her name did not survive those hard years. Her blood did. Picture her the way I always have, on the far bank of a fast, dark river, working her hands, never looking up. I will come back to her before we are done tonight, because she belongs to the fifth name, the heavy one. But first the third, the French names. In the fur country, the rivers where the traders came through, generations before the schools, There were marriages between French men and native women, and the record keepers of that day wrote the woman into her husband's name, and her people's name fell out of the book right there in one line of ink. The French name went forward. What stood behind it did not. I knew a man named Joseph, well into his 80s, whose family name was one of those old trader names. All he had of the far side of it was one photograph, a small dark-eyed woman the family only ever called the Quiet One. No name, no story, just the Quiet One, sitting at the edge of the picture like she was already halfway out of it. Joseph told me once, near the end of his life, that he had spent more hours looking at that photograph than at any living face, because he knew. He could not prove it, and he knew. A French name from river country, and a woman nobody would talk about. That is the third door. The fourth name. The mission names, the Spanish ones. Garcia, Reyes, Cruz. Down through the mission country, there were long years when a native child was brought to a baptism and came away wearing a Spanish name, and the old name was left at the door like a pair of muddy shoes. That was the price of the water, and in time families learned to lead with the Spanish name. Everywhere it mattered, at the school, at the courthouse, at the hiring window, until the old name was not a name anymore. It was a rumor at funerals, a half sentence between two aunts, gone quiet when the children came near. I want to tell you about a woman I knew named Ada, 67 years old. Ada had felt out of place her entire life. She loved silence when everybody around her loved noise. She loved the woods when everybody loved them all. She felt the seasons turn in her body before the calendar said so, and she grieved for animals like they were kin. 67 years of being told she was too sensitive, too quiet, too strange. Then she did one of those tests, the kind you spit in a tube for, and there it was, native blood. A great-great-grandmother from a tribe Ada had never even heard the name of, standing behind a baptism name her family had led with for 4 generations. And you know what Ada felt? Not surprise, relief. She said to me, "It wasn't that I didn't belong in the world. It was that I belonged to an older one, and I was living in the wrong one the whole time." 67 years, and the answer was folded up inside her own last name the whole time. Now hear this part, because it matters more than the names themselves. Ada's people did not hide that grandmother because they were ashamed of her. I have never once believed these families were ashamed. They were afraid, and the fear was handed to them the same way the blood was handed to them, from outside, from years that made the fear reasonable. Your great-grandmother did not fold the truth away because she hated it. She folded it away because she loved children who were not born yet. She looked at the weather of her time, and she built a shelter out of a name. That is not betrayal. That is a kind of love so heavy, most of us will never have to lift it. If you need something to be angry at, be angry at the fear, never at the ones who carried it. Before I give you the 5th name, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever, and most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. It is called The Native Way. The link is below. But stay right here, because this 5th name is the one people tell me they cannot stop thinking about. The 5th, the heaviest, the cut names, the names that were shortened, a long name in the old tongue, a name that took a whole breath to say, whittled down to 1 or 2 syllables, that an English-speaking clerk could spell. Sometimes just the first sound of it survived, sometimes the last. A name like a river, cut down to a puddle, small enough to fit in a ledger box. And here is why this one is the heaviest, and why I saved it. The other 4 names at least are whole words. A family named Rivers can find the river. A family with a mission name can find the mission country. But a cut name points back at nothing. It is a piece of a road with both ends gone. The family that carries it does not even have a wrong story to correct. They have a syllable and a silence. I knew a man named Frank who carried one of those. A short, odd little name nobody could ever place. It did not sound English, did not sound French, did not sound like anything. Frank spent the better part of 20 years after he retired trying to walk that name backward. Courthouses, church basements, letters to strangers who never wrote back. He found the ledger line where the name first shows up, short, in old handwriting that did not care. And behind that line, nothing. The trail just ends, the way a footprint ends at water. Frank died not knowing what his own name used to be. I sat with him some in that last year, and he said to me, "I'm not even angry anymore. I just wanted to say it right one time." I have no ending to give you for Frank. Some doors were closed too well. That is the truth, and I will not dress it up for you. But I will set another story beside his, because they belong together. A woman named Ruth had the same dream for 30 years. Walking along a fast, dark river, and on the far bank a woman weaving, never looking up, and the water too deep to cross. 30 years she woke from that dream with tears on her face and a homesickness that lasted all day. Homesick for a place she had never been. When she finally went digging into her family, she found her, 4 generations back, a great-great-grandmother from a river people known for their weaving, carrying a name Ruth had never once been told, cut out of the family story so long ago that nobody was left alive who remembered doing it. The blood had been sending her the introduction for 30 years. When Ruth finally understood, the dream stopped, and she wept for a week, not from sadness, from reunion. My own family carries that same far bank. The grandmother of grandmothers I told you about, the weaver from the river people, her name never came down to us either. So when I tell you the 5th name might be yours, understand me. I am not saying it to frighten you. I am saying it because I carry it too. Now I am near the end of what I came to say tonight, and there is something I want to tell you plainly. I am an old man, 74 winters. I am not going to be here forever, and I have made my peace with that. But almost everything I know was never written anywhere. It lived in my grandmother and in my grandfather, and now it lives in me. I am the last one in my family who holds it whole. The old ones did not write things down. They spoke them, by the fire, to the one who would carry them next. That is how it always worked, until the young ones scattered and too many fires went cold. So I sat down and I wrote it, all of it, 20 teachings, in 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received, the way I would say them to you if you were sitting here with me. I called it the native way. It carries the teachings about what lives inside you, about honoring what the blood is trying to tell you, about making the years you have left count for something. A man named Walter, 77, read it in 2 evenings. He told me it was the first time in his life anyone had explained why he had always felt things so deeply, that it was not a flaw, it was old blood doing what it was made to do. He keeps an evening fire again now, the way his grandmother did. And a woman named Pearl, 81, who lost a son years ago and had not been able to say his name out loud. After the teaching on grief and the fire, she said his name 3 times at her kitchen sink, and then made his favorite dinner for the first time since he passed. It is not a fancy thing. It is an old man's teachings, written down, but it costs less than 1 dinner you will not even remember eating. I made it that way on purpose, so the price would never be the reason somebody went without it. The link is in the description of this video. It is there if you want it. Now, before I let you go, come back to the river with me one last time. The fast, dark water, and the woman on the far bank weaving, never looking up. For a long time I believed that picture was about the ones we lost, the ones on the other side, out of reach. I do not believe that anymore. The river you cannot cross is not water. It is time. And the old ones are not standing over there waiting for you to cross to them. They already crossed to you. They came over in the blood, 1 generation at a time, folded up small inside names that were built to hide them. They have been sitting quietly inside you your whole life, waiting to be noticed. So here is what I want you to do. Not someday, this week. Say the names out loud. Your last name, your mother's name before she married, and her mother's before that, as far back as you can go. Say them slowly, by yourself, where it is quiet. Pay attention to which one snags in your chest, like a hook you cannot see. Then go to the oldest living person in your family and ask one question. Where did our name come from? Ask it gently. Then be quiet and watch their face. The face will answer before the mouth does. And you, the one sitting there tonight with a smooth English name and a grandmother who went silent at certain questions, the one who has felt out of place your whole life and never had a word for it, I am talking to you now, just to you. You were never strange. You were never too quiet, never too much, never wrong for this world. You may simply belong to an older one, and whether the paper ever proves it or not, you are allowed to sit near a fire and feel that you have come home. The fire does not check names. It never has. My grandmother stepped outside every morning before the sun and said thank you for another one. Whatever name she carried when she said it, the dawn always knew exactly who she was. If what you heard today stayed with you, the teachings are there. The Native Way, 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 names is sitting in your family tree? Or tell me about the name your family never explained. I read every comment. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.